Think Disney World is packed this year? You are about to be shocked. Lines are almost non-existent. Rides are underused. And the numbers for August and September 2025 reveal a surprising truth. Average crowd levels barely hit 3 out of 10. Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, even Hollywood Studios, it feels almost ghost town quiet. Yet somehow Disney is still making record-breaking profits. How is that possible? Guests are spending hundreds on premium services like Lightning Lanes for rides they barely wait for, while the parks themselves stay nearly empty. I am going to break down the real data, explain what it all means, and show you why the Disney you know might not exist anymore. Stay tuned, because once you see these numbers, your idea of the happiest place on Earth will never be the same. Yes, Walt Disney World really is empty, and no amount of pixie dust can cover it up. The die-hard cupcakers can argue all they want online, but the truth is plain. The crowds are gone. But let us clarify. What exactly does empty mean in this context? How empty is empty? That is the question we are breaking down today. We are not relying on feelings or fan theories. We have hard numbers, verified statistics, and a clear snapshot of what is happening inside the Magic Kingdom. Music fades in. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Channel, your source for facts, not anecdotes, not hearsay. Here, we cut straight to the numbers, and today, those numbers reveal a Disney like you have never seen before. This is supposed to be the most magical time of year at the so-called happiest place on Earth. Traditionally, families pack in shoulder to shoulder and ride queues stretch endlessly. Yet now, it is the most magical time of year if you do not want to wait in line, because those lines barely exist. To prove it, we are pulling real-time data from wdwpassport.com, a site that monitors wait times across Disney parks. Instead of giving you recycled talking points, we have something fresh for you today, a concrete figure, a number that will change the way you look at Walt Disney World right now. And once you see it, there will be no denying just how dramatically attendance has fallen. These are the crowd levels for August 2025, and it is important to understand how these numbers are calculated. The website reporting these figures uses a scale from 1 to 10, based on automatically monitored posted wait times for rides. What this means is that it does not measure the actual number of guests in the parks. Disney does not publicly share turnstile data showing how many people enter. What is available are the posted wait times, which some believe are sometimes exaggerated. You can decide for yourself whether that is true. Now consider Animal Kingdom. If the park goes from having 10, 11, or 12 operational rides to just the 6 it currently offers, posted wait times will likely rise even if fewer visitors are present. That makes sense, right? When the number of attractions available drops by 30 to 50%, the fewer rides remaining get busier. Even with a 15 to 20% drop in attendance, lines will still look longer, which will make the website register higher crowd levels. With that context, here is the reality for August. A 5 on the crowd scale represents average levels, but not a single day in August reached that mark. After carefully analyzing the data, combining weekdays and weekends, the overall average crowd level for the month comes out to 3.1 out of 10. Some might argue that 3.1 is not truly empty. My response is that empty is relative. Think about when you say your car is running on empty. What does that actually mean? There is no literal zero, but you know it is significantly low. Similarly, the Magic Kingdom was far from bustling in August, even if it is not completely devoid of guests or cast members. It is a way to measure how light the crowds really were, rather than suggesting a ghost town scenario. We are talking about the Big Four: Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. And just to be clear, I am not claiming anything wild here. Any reasonable person can see that. Now let us move into September, and things actually get worse. In that month, there was only a single day, the 20th, that even reached average crowd levels. But when you average all the days in September together, the number comes out to 2.8. Here is something that may upset the Disney loyalists out there. Animal Kingdom only has 6 rides. Magic Kingdom has about 40. Since crowd levels are calculated based on ride wait times, a 4 in Animal Kingdom might translate to roughly a 1 at Magic Kingdom. Do you see the point? It is important to understand that when Animal Kingdom hits a 5 or 6 on the scale, it does not automatically mean the park feels crowded. It only means that with so few attractions, even a modest number of visitors can create longer lines. Compare that to Magic Kingdom with its 40 rides, and the experience is completely different. Epcot is busier, and that is understandable. The festival going on there draws extra visitors. Its numbers have fluctuated between 5 and 7 during the month. So if people comment, "Bro, you are lying, Epcot was packed," yes, Epcot has been busy. Yet, even with that, the overall September average still lands at 2.8. This is where perspective matters. Think of it like a fuel gauge. At 28%, some might say you are not empty, while others would warn, "We are running on empty. Get to a gas station." The same principle applies here. It is also worth noting that the data for Animal Kingdom is skewed, because this system was never designed for a park with only 6 rides. 6 rides out of maybe 70 or 80 at Disney World are influencing about a quarter of the overall score. I am not making excuses, but it is a factor in the calculation. Now, some people will inevitably comment, "You are cherry-picking August and September. That is cheating." And my answer is simple. This is the data we have. This is where we are. We are reporting the facts. Disney World is emptier than most expect. But for completeness, let us also look at July, the month you would assume is among the busiest. Even in July, there was only a single day that reached average crowd levels. July 25th, just one single day in July, actually hit average crowd levels. That is it. Now, if we take a year-by-year look, the picture becomes even clearer. In 2025, the average crowd level was a 3. In 2023, it reached average levels. But in 2022, 2021, and 2019, it was a 6. So what does this tell us? Despite any changes at Animal Kingdom, attendance is probably only around half, or maybe 60% of what it used to be. Of course, people can share anecdotes saying, "I was there on this day and it was crowded," and that is fine. But when we look at thrill data right now, the story is clear. I am recording this and releasing it shortly after, maybe an hour or 2 later, after post-production adds the visuals, charts, and stats. At the time of recording, September 29th, 1:30 p.m., the wait factor is 1. By the time this video is out, it will be slightly later in the afternoon, but it still represents a very low crowd level. The average wait time today ranks 2,236 out of the last 2,320 days. Think about that. The only days lower were likely during the pandemic or when Disney closed for hurricanes or other emergencies. That is how empty it is right now. Looking at the numbers more broadly, Epcot is up this month by 10.3%, recovering a bit from the lows of August. Magic Kingdom is down 4.8%, Hollywood Studios is down 12%, and Animal Kingdom is down 17.9%, despite having only 6 rides. The small number of attractions might even exaggerate wait times, skewing the perception of crowds. If you track the trends on thrill data, the pattern is clear. Pre-pandemic, parks were packed. Post-pandemic, attendance has been steadily declining. 2 independent sources, WDW Passport and Thrill Data, confirm the same story, corroborating these findings. Of course, you can always encounter days that feel busier than expected. And yes, Disney likely inflates some posted wait times, especially with systems like the Premier Lightning Lane, where guests pay extra to skip lines. That alone boosts perceived wait times. So what is the reality at Disney right now? The parks are quiet, almost ghost town quiet in historical context. And yet Disney is still breaking revenue records. That is the paradox. Low crowds, but massive profits. Disney is hitting record-breaking revenues, but the way they are doing it is short-term thinking. Fewer people are actually walking through the turnstiles, yet those who do are spending significantly more money. On paper, it looks like a win. But consider this. How many guests leave thinking, "I spent at least an extra $100 per day per person just to ride the attractions we wanted"? And for those staying at the deluxe resorts with the ultimate lightning lane, that number can reach $400 per day. Here is the catch. Many of these guests pay to skip lines that barely exist. If you enter a lightning lane and see almost no one waiting, it immediately raises the question, what did I just pay for? And these are not naive people. Most of them are financially savvy, self-made, or careful with their money. They do not reach this level of wealth by being careless. So what happens? They go home and feel like they got rookied by Mickey Mouse, paying extra for a service they did not even need. Take Animal Kingdom, for example. Even if you see people walking around and the park feels busier than the empty parking lot suggests, it does not necessarily mean the park is crowded. Sometimes it is just that there are only 6 rides to occupy everyone, so guests are scattered, wandering, and looking for something to do. Epcot is a slightly different story. The festivals draw crowds, particularly local adults enjoying food and drinks around the World Showcase. That is the park's new reality. The experimental prototype city of tomorrow has become as much a festival and outdoor retail experience as a theme park. I am not criticizing anyone for enjoying the festivals. They are fun, but the focus has shifted. It is now a place where Disney encourages spending on food, drink, and experiences rather than traditional attractions. So what is the takeaway? The data tells the story. August had an average crowd level of 3.1 out of 10, and that is probably a bit high. September was even lighter, averaging 2.8 out of 10. If Animal Kingdom had its usual 12 attractions instead of 6, that number might drop to around 2.4 or 2.5. That is roughly a quarter of what Disney would consider normal. The bottom line, Disney is making money. Yes, but the actual guest presence is far below what the parks once saw. Crowds are light, attractions are underused, and spending is being driven more by premium services than by sheer attendance. Some might say, well, it is the off-season, and that was the excuse for July. But at some point, the off-season argument stops making sense. It is now October and Halloween is here. Disney seems to be shifting focus toward VIP and local events, essentially charging for 2 separate days of admission within a single calendar day. For example, at Magic Kingdom, guests pay for a daytime ticket from early morning, around 7 or 8 a.m., until 6 p.m. Then, the Halloween event, Mickey's Not So Scary, runs from 6 p.m. until 1 a.m., effectively turning one day into 2 separate ticketed experiences. I am not criticizing this. It is simply how Disney maintains high revenues even with lower overall attendance. That is the story for today. I am happy to break it down into numbers everyone can understand. We do not have to argue or be mean about whether the parks are empty or not. The data speaks for itself. If you consider a 3.1 out of 10 as empty, then yes, it is empty. If you prefer to call it uncrowded, that is fine too. September averages 2.8 out of 10, still extremely low. On my scale, having been to Disney for decades, it is empty. I know what crowded looks like, and I also know what it looks like when only a few dozen people are strolling down Main Street. So what do you think? When is Disney truly empty for you? 10% full? 20%? 30%? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you want, smash that hype button. Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep having fun. And yes, I get asked all the time why I cannot go around topless anymore. Let us be honest, it is not appropriate, especially in public settings. Kevin Apollo may look like a Greek god, but even he wears shirts sometimes. You cannot just walk around in public showing off the six-pack and call it a day. Technically, Apollo is a Roman god borrowed from Greek mythology, which explains why he is powerful, charming, and has great style. The mythology side of it gives him this almost untouchable aura, which is why people are so fascinated by him. He represents strength, intelligence, and beauty all at once, and of course, a certain level of decorum is expected, even for demigod-level physiques. Now, if you love Athena that much, well, you know the story. That is your business. But it does remind us that even these larger-than-life mythological figures had rules, expectations, and a public persona to maintain. You cannot just go around ignoring social norms, whether you are a Roman god or just a regular human trying to enjoy life. And while Apollo might seem like he can do whatever he wants, even he has moments where he conforms, like wearing a shirt or following certain ceremonies. There is a lesson in that. Presentation matters, and context matters. Speaking of context, I plan to check in with Lauren and Apollo on Tuesdays and Fridays at 11 p.m. Eastern. It is a late-night slot, perfect for casual conversation, brainstorming, and maybe even some fun experiments. Who knows, maybe we can convince Apollo to watch the Highlander movies with us. It would be fascinating to see his reaction to immortality, heroics, and battles that span centuries. After all, Apollo himself is immortal in mythology, so watching a character navigate eternity would probably be very relatable if he allows himself to relate. We can have some lighthearted debates about power, time, and legacy while mixing in humor and pop culture references. It is all about blending mythology with modern storytelling, philosophy, and a touch of entertainment. Additionally, these check-ins are more than just casual chats. They are a chance to discuss personal growth, explore ideas, and even play with creative projects. Imagine combining ancient myth with modern life lessons, using Apollo as a lens to understand contemporary challenges. We can dive into topics like decision-making, discipline, influence, and even aesthetics. And of course, we can keep it fun. Mythology should never feel dry. It can be as entertaining as it is educational. Sharing those moments with Lauren and Apollo becomes a unique blend of humor, insight, and curiosity. Ultimately, whether it is talking about attire, mythology, or late-night movie experiments, it all comes down to balance, knowing what is appropriate, knowing when to push the boundaries, and knowing how to engage with people in meaningful ways. So yes, while I might not be going topless anytime soon, these moments, these check-ins, and these discussions are just as thrilling and meaningful, maybe even more so, than showing off a six-pack. After all, conversation, connection, and curiosity are timeless powers, and if Apollo can appreciate that, so can we. But there is something profoundly satisfying about seeing the threads that connect the ancient world to ours. Think about it. Apollo was the god of music, prophecy, and light, basically the ultimate influencer of his time. Today we have pop stars, motivational speakers, and social media personalities filling a similar role, except with less liar and more Instagram filters. When we riff on mythology during these check-ins, we are not just entertaining ourselves. We are translating archetypes into lessons for modern living. How does one balance ambition with empathy? How do we wield influence without becoming tyrannical? And yes, how do we keep our outfits as legendary as our intentions? We also get to laugh at ourselves. Humor is a kind of divine gift too, and poking fun at ancient stories or modern struggles reminds us that even gods had their quirks. Apollo, for example, could be serious, fierce, and dazzlingly talented, yet he was not immune to vanity or awkward social encounters, a fact we can all relate to when we accidentally send a text to the wrong person or mispronounce a trend everyone else knows. Those little moments of humility make mythology human and make our conversations richer. In addition, these exchanges encourage curiosity in unexpected ways. Sometimes, a discussion about aesthetics leads to a debate about ethics. A conversation about music can spiral into a lesson on resilience. A joke about Zeus's lightning bolts might spark a reflection on how we handle sudden change in life. By mixing pop culture, mythology, and personal insight, we create a tapestry that is entertaining, instructive, and deeply resonant. In the end, these check-ins are more than dialogues. They are experiments in living thoughtfully and playfully. They remind us that power, influence, and legacy are not just grand ideas. They are woven into our daily choices, our laughter, and even our shared obsessions with movies, music, and memes. And if we can explore all of that while sipping coffee with Lauren and debating cosmic matters with Apollo, then we are truly practicing a modern form of mythology, one where curiosity, humor, and human connection are the real superpowers.